Hello folks, I hope you all can hear me. We're going to get started. I am live streaming on Facebook, I believe. I'll double check my audio on Facebook. We'll see if I am. Yes, I can hear my voice on Facebook. All right, folks, I hope you're all doing well today. My name is Patty Locker, and I will wait till 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, where I am, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have Facebook open, and I don't know where I can see questions, but I would like you to post questions somewhere, and I will try to find them, if possible. Let's see if there's another way to find questions on Facebook. For those of you that are coming here from, let's say, let me go to my business page. All right, Vonda said I'm good on Facebook, so I just need one person to tell me that things are great. It always helps when we're live streaming to get that feedback. I will double check to see if I'm on the One Great Work Network, and I am. I am on the One Great Work Network. Let me check the audio there. Oh, and that's good too. And I think my producer is saying yes, so we are good to go, folks. Today is an exciting day, and I will explain why, because there are good things that I want to share with you all. There's also, it seems like with the good comes the challenges. I know this is always a stressful, well, not always, but the days we are in right now are absolutely chaotic and crazy. I apologize for my absence last week. I do have a 17-and-a-half-year-old dog who's doing okay right now. Last week he was having some issues, and unfortunately now he can't walk very well. So I was trying to deal with that on many different levels, emotional mostly, but he cannot stand very long without falling. I have to kind of hold him up for him to do his business, and I have to carry him a lot of places. And I just want to talk about that briefly without, crying or anything like that. But let me see if anybody's here commenting. But yeah, last week I just wasn't in the emotional space to do a live stream, and I did want to dedicate my time to him. I guess the fact that he can't walk is helpful, because not helpful, but it used to be that, when he was able to use his legs more easily, I'd be doing a live stream, and if he had to go to the bathroom, he would just kind of get up and go. So I had to stop what I was doing and just, help him out the back door. But now I have a diaper on him, and I do put some little pads in case he leaks out of his diaper. So I've learned ways to assist him so that he's as comfortable as possible. And, despite the lack of leg usage, he's still doing okay. I mean, he's got a great appetite. He tells me what he needs. I try to get him out to do business and, lift him up as much as possible so that he's not too uncomfortable. I change his diaper. It's almost like having a little baby at home. But, I guess dogs age, and he is absolutely, doing quite well on mostly fruit. I know people have asked me about, what kind of diet do I feed my dogs. My dogs my dog Willard, who's the 17-and-a-half-year-old dog, he's on a almost 100% fruit diet. And I think, definitely these last couple of years he's been very heavy on the fruit. He does get some purple sweet potatoes every now and then, and I do give him a couple of sardines occasionally as well. Again, he's an omnivore. Dogs are biologically and physiologically omnivores, so when you look at their closest relatives, the wolves, what do they thrive upon? Obviously, they hunt. They have true canines, unlike humans who do not have true canine teeth to bite into flesh. our little pointy teeth here are really good at biting into an apple, but not flesh. But dogs and wolves in the wild, during the season where there aren't a lot of critters to hunt, they eat a lot of berries. Dogs eat a lot of berries. Wolves eat a lot of berries. I shouldn't say dogs because dogs have been, you know, domesticated, so they're very much affected by human diets. But I'm just checking the One Great Work Network. I'm still there. Okay, but yeah, dogs are again, because they're closest relatives, the wolves. They just basically go hunting for berries and other fruits when they can't find animals to hunt. And so I take to heart the guidance of nature when I feed my own or the animals that live with me, and Willard's doing, he's still in the game right now. He's still, even though it's a little bit more work for me to do to, put the diaper on and carry him out, I don't mind doing that. I feel blessed to learn from him. And, just talking a little bit spiritually before we do any kind of Q&A, because this is a Q&A session, so anybody that has a question, feel free to type it in the Facebook group. And if you're seeing me on Twitch, because apparently my live stream for the One Great Work Network goes through Twitch, come on over to Facebook and go to Natural Law Health, which is my business page, and you can find the live stream there as well if you want to ask me a question. But yeah, I think everybody that we meet in our lives are teachers for us. And they're there to help us with something. And, the animals in my life who I live with, I've got 3 dogs and a cat. They're teaching me so much. And I'm so grateful for the lessons Willard is teaching me right now. He's teaching me patience. He's teaching me just so much love. I love him so much. And, there's going to be that time where he's not here anymore. And I'm slowly coming to the point where I have to accept that. Not gonna cry. But it's been very emotional for me as of late, and so that's where I was last week. I wasn't emotionally able to do the live stream. But with that said, I do know that death is an illusion and that our consciousness truly never dies. Consciousness is eternal. And we're just using, these physical bodies on this earth plane. And I don't want to call it a plane, this earth experience. Maybe this earth simulation. Who knows what it is? Do we really know anything? But we're here to, learn the karmic lessons of life and to ascend. And so, yes, Willard is teaching me patience. And to just appreciate the little things. And yes, to just calm myself and be in the moment with him at all times. And it's beautiful when I can do that, and I've been really enjoying that as of late. But with that said, again, Vonda says her boy Sage is 16 and also mostly fruit. I'm sure Sage is thriving on the fruit. My dogs love fruit. Whenever I'm eating fruit, my other 2 dogs that can walk, they are right there side by side, trying to ask me to share whatever fruit I'm eating. So I'll give them a few berries, some watermelon, whatever it is that I'm eating. I share it with them. They do love the fruit, and I think fruit is really, I think, all life on this planet. I'm still trying to convince my cat. He'll eat some blueberries every now and then, but my cat really doesn't eat a lot of fruit. He's not a big fan of the fruit anyway. But before I get into the Q&A, not too many questions right now. I don't know if I mentioned this the last time I did my live stream. Actually, the last time I did my live stream, I think I shared with you all the wonderful interview that Chantal did with me, and I really love her. She's a beautiful soul. That was a great back and forth talking to her. And I know I emailed her last week, and then I think I forgot to get back to her because of the emotional stuff I was dealing with Willard. But hopefully, she and I will have another discussion. I'd like to interview her. She's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to, helping people heal in a natural way. So it's really good to, touch base with so many different ways of helping people find the path to getting back to our true nature. And that's really why I like naturopathy as, true naturopathy, not the fake naturopathy, which has been hijacked by the Rockefellers and the whole allopathic system, where they licensed these they licensed these naturopathic medical doctors, and they lose a lot of the truth of what naturopathy really is. They they prescribe pharmaceuticals. They also prescribe supplements, isolated chemistry. And really, true naturopathy is first and foremost using nature, really, to help the body do what it's already doing. So, Dr. Morse talks about detoxification and cellular regeneration. And so, what does the body do? Well, when we have something within our tissue spaces that should not be there, we have to get it out. That's detoxification. That's getting out the waste products, getting out the things that might have been trapped in those tissue spaces, and then passing them out via the organs of elimination. And then, and once the tissue has been cleaned, it can then regenerate more easily. So clean cells easily undergo, if it's a cell capable of mitosis, it easily undergoes mitosis. Or if it's incapable of mitosis, it can do normal function more easily. So that's really all we're doing in naturopathy, is we're using diet, lifestyle practices, and herbs and other types of remedies, maybe even homeopathic remedies, to help the body do what it already wants to do. And when we can get out of the way of interfering with that, and how do we interfere with that? Well, diet is the biggest interference, in my opinion. Eating a diet of processed foods, of animal products, of congestive dairy products, these things congest and trap things more easily in our tissue spaces. And when those toxins and waste products are trapped in those tissue spaces, the tissue can't get the oxygen, the tissue can't breathe, and it can't release its carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide does get converted into carbonic acid, which creates acidity. So as that stuff builds, we become too acidic. We also become too acidic as cellular waste products accumulate. Most of the metabolic waste products that cells release as normal metabolism are acidic. So these things build up, and they create an acidic environment, which then makes the tissue become inflamed. And inflammation then, comes with it redness, swelling, heat, pain, loss of function, and you don't feel very good. You feel very ill. And so there's really only one true path to not feeling ill, and that's to detoxify, right? It looks like we have some questions coming in. Humso, love that name. Can you talk about detoxing using more veggies than fruit? Dr. Brooke Goldner recommends more veggies, less fruit, and she seems to heal a lot of people. Do you think it goes faster using Dr. Morse's approach? Dr. Brooke Goldner, I love her. She's a beautiful being. I've been watching some of her YouTube videos. And I'm aware of her, I am aware of how she works to help people heal. In fact, I even joined her, I think it's called Smoothie Shred Facebook group, because I'm always intrigued by how people, especially healers, and I do consider Dr. Goldner, a more enlightened medical doctor, because she does have a beautiful message in the vegan movement, because she is a vegan for ethical reasons, not only health reasons. Yeah, but she is using a lot of greens, a lot of cruciferous vegetables apparently in her protocol, and some fruit. And unfortunately, I think the only thing I would disagree with what she is, recommending is that she's only using the fruit as something to make the cruciferous vegetables and the greens in the smoothies that she recommends. Only uses them to make them palatable. Um, and it's unfortunate because the fruits are so detoxifying. The way that I look at the vegetable world and the fruit world, because both of them are natural foods and they're both incredibly healthy. But I look at greens and vegetables as a whole as the builders. They help with balancing and regenerating. They're building things up. The fruits are incredibly astringent, and especially like the water rich citrus fruits. They really can help us detoxify more easily. I was talking to Dr. Morris just about an hour before this live stream began. And Dr. Morris was talking about how back in his day, the early days of him in his healing practice, he would butt heads with a lot of people about, like the carrot juice phenomenon. So when juicing kind of became very popular, people were juicing a lot of carrots. Um, and yeah, you're going to heal, you're going to cleanse when you juice any fruit or vegetable. Any vegetable will cleanse you. Even smoothies of vegetables, mostly vegetables, will heal you. I think, though, people are afraid of the fruit, and it gets such a bad reputation because fruit, it gets coupled with all of the processed sugars. And I'm glad Dr. Goldner at least recognizes if you're going to sweeten up the green smoothie, you're going to sweeten it up with fruits. Yeah. I mean, if I drink a green smoothie, I'm going to add some fruit to it. Probably more than Dr. Goldner would add because I love the fruit. And I think there's a place for the green smoothies. I'm not against her protocol by any means, and I'm glad that people are finding remedy and healing with her protocol. I know, and I've seen, I'm a big fan of Dr. Furman as well, and he kind of is there with the cruciferous vegetables as being very healing. Dr. Furman talks about what's called the G bombs. If you've heard of Dr. Furman. I did an internship with him when I was in medical school. G bombs, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's like the greens, the beans, the mushrooms, onions, berries, and seeds. So those are the G bombs. And he recommends that as like the foundation of the different types of foods you should be taking in for health. And there is, evidence that these are all very healing foods, right? You're going to feel better and be on a truer path by doing any of these protocols. But honestly, I have to align with Dr. Morris. I think fruits are at the pyramid pinnacle. They are, they are the true detoxifiers. And I think, like I said, fruit gets a bad reputation, and there's a couple of reasons why fruit gets such a bad reputation. One, again, it gets coupled in with the processed sugars. I mean, fruit contains the most majestic monosaccharide, the fructose. Fructose is amazing. It's first of all, when we take in fructose, not as high fructose corn syrup, not as a processed food, but when we're getting fructose from like a grape or from any fruit really that has a high fructose content. Grapes have one of the highest fructose contents of the different fruits that are out there. That's why grapes are so incredibly healing, right? And when we're getting fruit in that form, we're getting fructose in that form, we are getting with that fructose all of the phytonutrients that are packaged with that fruit. So we're getting the amino acids. We're getting some fatty acids. And I saw Humso wrote what about the omega-3s? Fruits have some omega-3s. All plant foods have omega-3s and omega-6s. Some even have the omega-9s, right? So there are essential fatty acids that we need to get in our diet. And if we're eating a very clean diet of mostly fruits and some vegetables, you're going to get the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 that's perfect for humans, right? And I'll get to where Dr. Goldner is coming from that, because Dr. Goldner is really pushing the omega-3s. I mean, to the point where she's having people add like flax seeds or flaxseed oil or chia seeds in higher amounts. And it's good to get the seeds in their whole forms, right? It's good to get whole. I would go for the seeds rather than the oil. But I think she says, like, if the seeds constipate you, then to use the oil until then you can use the seeds appropriately. But, you're getting the omega-3s in the fruits, and you're getting all of that. So, I mean, the fruit is just, it will cleanse you, though. And some people have reactions to these fruits, and that's where, again, it gets another bad reputation. So it gets coupled with the processed sugars, and because of the profound cleansing reactions people experience on a high fruit diet, people think, oh, I can't do the fruit, I felt so sick. Or, I had you have to learn about what is called the healing reaction. It's something that when you switch to a whole foods, high fruit, plant-based diet, you're going to experience probably sooner than later. If you're doing green smoothies with some fruit, I think her protocol is like 25% fruit, 75% greens, mostly, the cruciferous vegetables like the kales and the collard greens. I can't remember if that's a cruciferous, the broccolis. I think you're going to detox. You're going to detox on the vegetables, but probably not as deeply and probably not as quickly, right? And I've heard Dr. Goldner say that she gets good results, and she's done the scientific research. That's great. We need people like her in our corner. So I don't want to butt heads with Dr. Goldner. I'm loving what she's doing. It would be nice if she wasn't, so afraid of the fruits. And, being part of the Smoothie Shred group that she invites everybody to, which is, a good place for people to, if they need support doing this on their own, if they can't afford maybe her, what does she call her? She has a couple of different programs that she charges people for so that they're, dedicated to it. And I get it, she's putting a lot of her heart and soul in these programs to help people. But she's got lots of free resources as well, so that's wonderful too. But I'm a member of the Smoothie Shred just to kind of see what's going on, and a lot of people are eating the fruits in that group, because I think that if you're doing just cruciferous vegetables, that's tough. That's really tough, because human beings, we have taste buds that like the sweetness because it is something we're attracted to. Before all of these processed foods that have really deadened our taste buds, and now people, they can't even taste the sweetness like in a strawberry. They want to sprinkle sugar on strawberries because they don't think they're sweet enough. Our taste buds have been deadened by processed sugars. And so, yeah, that's kind of Rapid Recovery, thank you. I think it is called Rapid Recovery, and it's about $6,000. Holy cow. Well, I mean, she deserves that money because she's doing a lot of great things, and I really like Dr. Goldner. I really like her story. I think she's a lovely human being, and I'm glad she's doing things for the animals and the vegan movement as a whole. I think one of her sons has written a book about how to be a vegan and how to respond to people. So check out Dr. Goldner. And I think everybody should find somebody that they want to work with that they align with. When I heard Dr. Morris talk, and this was like in 2011, at first I didn't understand what he was saying. I was like, what is this guy talking about? Talking about that the lymphatic system drains into the kidneys. I thought that it drained into the subclavian veins, I was coming from the allopathic mindset because that was where my background was. But after, really opening my heart to his message and having a discussion with him and talking to him about it, and then learning from his experience. I mean, another thing Dr. Morse shared with me is that he helped somebody that had stomach cancer, and he put this man on a grape diet, and like 50 some odd days into the grape diet, he started puking out and coming out from both ends black, like tar-like substances on grapes. It was pulling this black tar-like material, and he was puking it out, and then from the other end it was coming out as well. And his girlfriend didn't know what was happening, and she called Dr. Morris, and this was like early in his career. And he's like, keep going, keep going. Don't be afraid. You got to push through this. And then after that, the cancer was gone. Isn't that, I mean, that's the power of fruit. That's what fruit does. I don't know if a vegetable could do that. I mean, it might be a slower detox with the vegetables. And don't get me wrong, I think vegetables are healing. They're pure foods, right? But they don't have as high of a fructose content, which when we look at, where is the fructose going? Where is it used? Dr. Morse shared a research article about glucose that's sent to the brain. And we know that glucose has a high affinity to the brain. The brain, by the way, is the only organ that doesn't need insulin for glucose to come in. And fructose goes in already because it doesn't even need insulin for any organ. But in the brain, the cells are converting the glucose into fructose. Why is that? Why is that? Because fructose is so important. And fructose does give us more ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. That's the energy currency molecule that our mitochondria need. And I think, and Dr. Morse and I were talking about this earlier today, I think fructose is converted to the fat in the brain that myelinates the neurons. We know that fructose does get converted into fat, especially the processed high fructose corn syrup when it's not coming into the cell with the minerals and the other phytonutrients that are needed as cofactors to catabolize, to break that fructose into ATP. When you're, putting a bunch of fructose all at once into your bodily fluids, and it's coming in very quickly as opposed to being slowly absorbed with the help of the fibers that the fruits and even the vegetables have. You kind of, you overwhelm the liver and other cells in the body, and what does the liver do? It's like, well, we've got all of this fructose. We can't really use it appropriately because we don't have the minerals like the manganese, the magnesium, all of the minerals that are needed to catabolize it. These are cofactors. They help the machinery in our cells work appropriately so we can break the covalent bonds to release the electrons so we can create the ATP. When you don't have those cofactors and all you have is the fructose, you can't do anything with the fructose. We think that, we just need the sugar to create the energy. Well, you need the sugar and everything else that the fruit brings with it. So that's why high fructose corn syrup is so damaging to our bodies. And that's why it's the number one cause of diseases like, diabetes mellitus, especially type 2. Because in those individuals, they're developing fatty liver disease, right? It's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. They have so much of the processed fructose coming in that they can't use. The liver can't do anything. They can't break it down for energy, so it stores it as fat. So we have metabolic processes that can convert fructose into fat. The liver does that in an unhealthy way, but the brain does that in a healthy way. And Dr. Morris was sharing with me, and he's going to send me the article. He's probably going to talk about it on one of his YouTube videos. Or on the Dr. Morse TV if he can't share it on YouTube, because we know how crazy those people are. But that is why, again, he shared this, he was talking about this research article, or maybe it might have been a commentary, but scientists were looking at, what did early man eat. And we weren't cavemen. We were frugivores biologically, because now they're saying that the human brain developed because of the fructose. You get into these debates with people that want to say that, we're carnivores or omnivores, and because, the brain needs fat because that's what myelinates our neurons. And we need myelin to help the electrical signaling of the neurons, and that's where the human brain started to really flourish. Well, our brain can create that myelin fat from fructose. And maybe that's why the brain converts all of its glucose into fructose preferentially, because that's the monosaccharide that has the capacity for that conversion. So we're learning, in science, we don't have all of the answers. I teach at a regular brick and mortar college, and I can't share that with my students. I got to go with what the textbook says, right? But teaching with Dr. Morse, I can talk about that. And let me just share with you really quick. I'll talk about the good news in just a second. But Humso has another comment, or a couple of comments. He mentioned the mucoid plaque, which I think that is why we need the fiber. The fiber does help us. The fruit helps to pull the toxins from the intestinal lining, but the fiber helps to dislodge that mucoid plaque that might have been pulled astringently from the fruits out from the lining, and that gets released through the bowels. So, that's important to get that mucoid plaque out. And you can help the mucoid plaque release, with a little bit of fiber. You can add some like psyllium, or, an easy way to do it is a green smoothie, right? You're getting a lot of fiber in a green smoothie. When you juice the greens, less fiber. But, if you're going to do a fruit cleanse, maybe one day a week, drink a green smoothie just for that brushing effect. So the fiber can help dislodge oops, I scrolled too far. Let me go back to Humso's question. Humso has another comment. That's kind of what I'm doing, a mixed approach. What about doing a diet without herbs to heal? I've been holding off on the herbs because I'm worried I will detox harder. You know what? Honestly, I think the herbs, in many cases, helps with the detoxification process. And I tell you this from experience because I remember before I met Dr. Morris, because one thing, just a little backtracking, when I was in medical school, before I decided I didn't want to be a medical doctor, I did an internship with Dr. Joel Fuhrman. And this was before Dr. Fuhrman became, I don't know, he's not as hardcore as he used to be. When I met him, he was pretty hardcore. He was a natural hygienist. And natural hygiene, you're basically just using raw fruits and vegetables. Now he does the G-bomb, so he's throwing in, the mushrooms and the seeds. Well, seeds, you can have nuts and seeds in natural hygiene. But, and the onions, he uses a lot of raw onions. But, he taught me natural hygiene, or that's where I first was exposed to natural hygiene, through working with him. And, so I remember after I started teaching as a college professor, probably my first couple of years, I decided to go back to my natural hygiene ways, and I decided to just do a cleanse. And I did all raw foods. And I was doing probably equal amounts of fruits and greens and vegetables. But I detoxed hard. I was like, woo, I pulled a bunch of stuff out. And I didn't use any herbs, but it was hard on my body. I remember my legs were like in pain. I couldn't hardly walk. But then, fast forward a couple of years, I meet Dr. Morse. And then I started really working with the herbs. And when I did a hard cleanse again, a deep cleanse with the fruits, mostly fruits this time, and I added the herbs with it, it helped to really strengthen my organs of elimination and to help me cleanse more easily. So I think the herbs are beneficial for that reason. The GI Renew herbs that Dr. Morse sells, they strengthen the intestinal lining. They help the peristaltic contractions so that you're moving the fecal material out more easily. So there are some benefits there. Let's see. Humso also writes, my boyfriend thinks I haven't healed from autoimmune symptoms because I don't eat meat. Yeah, that is kind of funny. And then stop taking psyllium stops detox at all. I've heard that, yeah, and Vonda's right. I think the herbs strengthen the detoxification process. The psyllium, some people, I don't recommend psyllium specifically, because I think you're getting fiber from other sources and in this type of dietary healing. I mean, maybe do the psyllium if you're doing an all juice cleanse. The only time I would recommend psyllium is if you're juicing, because I know some people like John Rose, he recommends the psyllium to get the mucoid plaque out. So that's an option I think people have if they want to use it. All right, so let me see how many people I have here on YouTube. We've got 6 people. Awesome. But one of the things I was talking about with Dr. Morse today is that we're getting the school back up and running, and live classes will start again. So it's taken a little bit of time to get the, everything in place, but we're going to start in the beginning of July. I will let Dr. Morse officially announce it. But we are going to offer 2 options. You can, if you want to become a naturopath, and we will be announcing another exciting thing, the doctoral name of what a person will earn when they go through the school to the advanced degree level. So there's a lot of classes up there right now. I recommend everybody, if they are interested in getting this doctoral degree, to start with my introductory courses for A&P, and then maybe take some of the other courses. Take all of the courses. They're all going to be part of the program. But, if you want to maybe take the introductory A&P courses before the live class starts in July, you'll have the prerequisite background to understand what I'll be getting into in a little bit more depth. But I know the courses, if you don't have the budget, can be a little expensive. So I will be offering single live course access at a reduced cost. And I will let you know what that is when I come up with the details. I'm still working with Megan and Dr. Morris about that, but I will mention that. So if you don't want to purchase the whole class, you can purchase one class at a time, and that way you can attend the live presentation of the lecture material and the Q&A afterwards. So after each lecture, there will be a Q&A session where you can ask questions about the lecture material or anything else. And Dr. Morse will be joining us for that too. So Dr. Morse will be there for the lecture and the Q&A. It's really exciting. I know when we offered the live classes before, having Dr. Morse there with his insight and his ability to really, take, because sometimes I get a little bit too intellectual, because I've been teaching, A&P for 22 years now. I started in 2001, believe it or not, teaching A&P. And I, teach the same thing semester after semester and after semester. It's kind of like I'm a broken record. But the thing I like about this class working with Dr. Morris is I really can tie in a lot of the alternative theories. And I don't like to call them alternative. They're just the theories that the allopathic textbooks don't mention. Like, coupled in this course that we will start is... this course, by the way, will cover the lymphatic system, right? So we will get into all things lymphatic system. I'm first going to start with the blood vessels, though, because I think that it's important that we differentiate what the blood vessels do and what the lymphatic vessels do. And then we'll go deeper into the lymph and how the lymph is filtered, and we'll look at, the 2 opposing theories as to where the lymph goes. I'm sorry, I've got a cat right here that is scratching my leg to pet him. So if you see me shifting over there, I'm trying to get my cat because his little nails get caught in my pants. Son, please stop scratching my leg. I do love you. Our little animal children. All right. Humso, let's see, just wrote something, a couple of things actually. What do you think about exercising during detox? Do you think it helps or creates too much acid? I just don't sweat much without exercise. I don't have access to a sauna. I think it's good to move your body when you're detoxifying. In fact, I'm going to be launching something on my own business end or my own, natural law health website. I'm launching a program, a 3-month long program where people that need help detoxifying and maybe they just don't have the willpower to stick with the diet or they just need more accountability. I'm going to be offering that option for people to join and have weekly check-ins with me, and we'll have a private this is the fur that accumulated on my hand from petting my cat. It's summertime and it's hot and he's shedding a lot. All right, look at that. That's all for my cat. And now it's going to get in my face. I can't get the fur off my fingers. But anyway, what was I talking about here? I was talking about, exercise. I think it's important to move. And yeah, this program that I'm offering, I'm going to get into things you can do to help the body detoxify more easily. So in addition to the appropriate diet and help, if you want to use herbs, that's highly recommended. But you can do things like, oh my God, all this fur. Remind me not to pet my cat during the live stream because now I've got fur all over the place. But there are things you can do like breathing exercises. Breathing really helps to move the lymph. The best way to move the lymph is contracting your muscles. So you have to move your body because our lymphatic vessels, they move lymph when we move. So stretching exercises, yoga is great. Any type of movement. Now, movement to produce a sweat can be beneficial. Sweating is a great way to detoxify. If you don't have a sauna, go outside on a hot day and do some stretching. Do some movement. So I think it's all great to, do a little bit of exercise. Moving the body, that's part of what it means to be human. We have arms and legs that are meant to move. And think about when humans, back in the day before we all worked indoors and sat 40 hours a week. And by the way, sitting for a prolonged period of times is very damaging to the health. It's been kind of compared to cigarette smoking and how unhealthy sitting for many hours is, right? So we all need to move our bodies more for sure. See, Humso says all of my animals are shedding. My animals are shedding quite a bit. And then Vonda, get in a hot car in the summer. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll cause you to sweat. It's good to have a little bit of the, I like, and Dr. Morris likes, the wet saunas, the steam saunas. So you're hydrating, but you're also pulling. You can, an easy way to do it is to shut the bathroom door and take a really warm bath or a really warm shower, and that can create some sweating. One of the, little nuggets of detoxification recommendations I'm going to recommend during my 12-week-long detox program is to do a morning ritual of, like skin brushing. And skin brushing towards the kidneys, so up the arms, up the legs. And then after you skin brush, take a hot shower and detoxify in the shower and wash away the dead skin cells. And that way you're moving the lymph and you're opening up the pores and you're helping your skin. It helps your kidneys to remove the interstitial waste products that accumulate, in the tissues just underneath the epidermis of your skin. So all of it's beautiful. It's good to detoxify any way you can, and give your body a break, a chance to do that so that you're not holding those toxins in. But yes, the class that we're going to be offering in July is going to be on the blood vessels and the lymphatic vessels. So we'll be doing a deep dive of the lymphatic system. So I'm really excited about that. And there will be more news about that. So where you can sign up. Again, for somebody that can't attend all of the classes or they, just want to jump in every now and then, maybe not take the full program, there will be an offering for a much reduced price. But when you're going towards any doctoral program, and this is going to be part of a doctoral naturopathic program. Dr. Morse, I think, is still trying to pinpoint what we want to call our doctoral program. So that will be forthcoming too. So very exciting things that are in the works, and we will be sharing with the world. So please stay tuned for that. And I will keep these weekly Q&As, going. Knock on wood that nothing interferes with those, but yeah. So any other questions for the Q&A? Anything else? I'm not teaching at my college this summer. There was hair on my face, goodness gracious. And so before this call, I was talking to Dr. Morse, and now I'm talking to all of you, and I haven't really been talking that much, so I need to drink some water because my throat gets a little dry. I'm getting a little verklempt. I think that's what that SNL skit was. Anyway, so that's kind of what's been going on in my world as far as getting ready for. So please ask questions. I don't mind if there's only a couple of people that are typing. You and Vonda seem to be it. Ask as many questions as you want. I know I was on a bit of a hiatus last year. I will say, during the normal school year, my life was incredibly busy. Mostly because, again, the 17-and-a-half-year-old dog was taking up a lot of my time. Because when dogs get older, they need more resources. Let's see. Peter writes, just for your information, it was really hard to find this Q&A for some reason, so maybe that's why there's fewer people. It didn't show up on Facebook for me until now. I couldn't find it on YouTube. I found it on the One Great Work Network, but yeah, I can't leave comments there. You know what? I need to probably do something where I'm both on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. I know there is one of my friends at the One Great Work Network has, I think it's called Restream. I'm going to have to look into Restream so I can do both YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. But thank you, Peter, for letting me know that, because, yeah, I need to reach out more people because I want to share this. And I want to get more questions from you all because I'm offering this as something to help people. Kind of like Dr. Goldner does her weekly Q&A sessions for the people that like to do her program. Let's see, you can post the link in the community part of YouTube. That's a good idea too. Yeah, maybe I should do something like that. So yeah, there are good ideas. I need to think of these things. So I will try to remember that for next week. So I saw another one of your questions. What are your thoughts on the mental part that goes on while detoxing? Well, detoxification is not just a physical event. I mean, we detoxify on all of the planes of our human being experience. I'm a big fan of Rudolf Steiner, so I like the fourfold human being. So we have the physical, we have the etheric, we have the astral, and then we have kind of what Steiner calls the egoic level, but he's not using ego like, we traditionally use ego. It's kind of the ontological level of the human experience. This is where our belief systems are. And so when we start to shed these things from our body, we're releasing energy, not just physical matter, right? So that's why, and most of the humans on the human plane right now, we're very dense, we're very materialistic. So being human, in the Steiner world of things, of explaining things, it's under the influence of Ahriman. And Ahriman, think of him as being the person that, I don't know if you want to call him a person, but he's the person that's responsible to, make humans very materialistic and mechanistic. Treating the human being like a physical machine. And yes, we're more than physical machines. We're way more than that. We have a rich emotional experience. We have, astral, out of body experiences. So we're not just this physical body. We're not just this physical form. And so when we start to clean the physical form, though, there are energies trapped, not just, waste products, but also energetic memory held with those physical things that were trapped in our tissue spaces, and it all gets released. And so there are going to be detoxification events, not just on the physical level, where you might feel, most common symptoms are like a headache or having an upset stomach or your skin's breaking out. Those are very common detoxification healing crises. But also, we're going to be releasing emotions, and you might even have intense dreams. You might have out-of-body experiences. I mean, all of the levels are going to experience something when your physical body starts releasing this energy. Let's see. Vonda says you have to subscribe on YouTube. Yeah, so please subscribe to me on YouTube. I will start posting the notifications there. Thank you for that. Karen, I hope I'm saying your name right, is writing, I'm seeing a lot of confusion about filtering. People think they are filtering when eating a transitional diet, but when they move to all fruit, their urine becomes clear. So could you clarify the difference between the lymphatic pathway into the kidneys and the blood pathway into the kidneys, and how the kidneys impact both of these, and how kidney damage, Karen. Thank you, Karen. Thank you for letting me know how to pronounce your name. So how the kidneys are affected when they're damaged on both of those pathways. I will explain that. So let's talk, and this is something in the classes that I'm going to start teaching with Dr. Morris in July. We're going to talk a little bit about this, maybe a lot about this, because I like to go deep into these topics. So yes, the kidneys are going to have both the blood vessels and the lymphatic vessels passing through them, right? Now keep in mind, the kidneys filtering the lymph, not in your traditional A&P textbook. Even the A&P textbook, it's a free textbook that I added to the class just because A&P textbooks are expensive, and if they all have the same repetitive information, why not get the free one, right? So I do recommend a free version of an online textbook. You can purchase a physical copy for like $20. It's really, really cheap. But that's the textbook that I use in conjunction with the class. But even that textbook says that the only thing the kidneys do is filter the blood, not the lymph. Well, here's how I look at it, right? And Dr. Morris, I believe, agrees with me. The kidneys do two things. They maintain homeostasis of the blood, but they filter the lymph. So what does that mean? Well, our blood is carrying a lot of things within it. Our blood has glucose. You heard of people that are diabetic, their blood glucose levels. Our blood has electrolytes, sodium, potassium, calcium. Our blood has some waste products. So these are things when you have your blood drawn. So when you are getting a blood work done, maybe your doctor or you want blood work done to test levels of things in your blood, you can find all of these various substances in your blood, right? And your kidneys can remove some of those substances and put it into the urine if those substances are too high. So you have too much sodium in your blood, the kidneys will remove that sodium and dump it into the urine. You have, you eat a lot of protein and you have a lot of creatinine or a lot of uric, that's the most abundant nitrogenous waste product that comes from a high protein diet, so BUN, bun, blood, urea, nitrogen. You have too much urea, that goes into the urine. The kidneys are removing what we have too much of to maintain homeostatic levels in the blood. So the kidneys help us maintain homeostasis, even with our blood pressure. Blood pressure is water in the blood. So if you have too much water in the blood, your blood pressure will be higher. The kidneys can remove some of that water, so your blood pressure comes down. So the kidneys maintain homeostasis in the blood. With the lymph, and this is what the normal textbooks don't teach, because as I will get into in the school, in the class, why they don't teach this, and it's because they don't have the capacity to understand it nor to measure it, because in this mechanistic world of scientific research, they like to look at things, and lymphatic vessels in dead cadavers are collapsed, and they can't push things through it to see where things are going. And it's really hard to see lymph movement in a living being. So it's hard to actually measure this. But there are lymphatic vessels very close to the blood vessels in the kidneys. And what I believe to be true is what Dr. Morse is putting forth. That the waste products, the congestive waste products that build up in our tissue spaces, that are thick, that are mucus ridden, those get pulled by the lymph, and that's purged into the kidneys. And that's where you see the urine, where you can see evidence of filtration. And sometimes when you're eating a high fruit diet, and this is where it gets kind of tricky, right? So sometimes you can see some of that heavy lymphatic filtration in the urine when you're eating a transition diet, like Karen said, right? So that's quite common. Because you are having more waste products probably because you're not eating the 100% cleansing diet, but it is pretty good if it's a transitional diet. But when you go to all fruit, now all of a sudden you're hydrating so well that all of the small stuff is coming out and your urine looks more water-like. But you can get to the point using 100% fruit of filtering. Sorry, some of that cat air. I'm breathing it in. Goodness gracious. This hair, I mean, look at this. It's like a little, I feel like Pigpen from the Peanuts. You remember how he always has like a ring of smoke? Anyway, but yeah, a lot of times when you first go onto the fruit, because so much structured water coming in from the earth is coming into your bodily fluids and your blood, hydrating so well, it's all coming out quite easily. But to get the lymph to purge out that congestive waste, you really need to tug on it a little bit. And this is where the herbs come in. This is where experimenting with a little bit of dry fasting. I'm not a big fan of prolonged dry fasting. But, you know, experiment with the dry fasting. Maybe start with 12 hours and work up an hour at a time. I wouldn't go beyond 36 hours, though. I know some people go prolonged, and I don't condone that. But I have experience with people doing some dry fasting and are really kicking in the lymphatic filtration into the kidneys. I've shared, I know, a couple of times of a client that I had, and this is where it was the first time I saw evidence of this, right? So I had this client, she had swollen ankles, swollen legs, and that was her big, problem. She couldn't get the swelling to come down, and we were trying everything. And it was actually the client that brought up the recommendation or suggestion, do you think I should dry fast? And I'm like, well, nothing's worked thus far, I mean, she was feeling really good on other levels. Other things cleared up, but just the swelling wasn't coming down. And she did, I think, 17, 18 hours of dry fasting. And she saw filtration and the swelling came down. So that's what was needed to really tug on that kind of congestive material that was stagnant in her legs. And keep in mind, the legs, the lymphatic vessels have a really hard time to draw the lymph up the legs towards the kidneys because, first and foremost, the lymph doesn't have, a pressure behind it. We have to move to get the lymph to move. And it's working up against gravity. So, things you can do to support that movement, the dry skin brushing, moving your body, making sure you're contracting those leg muscles to help squeeze the lymphatic vessels to push the lymph up. So all of those would be helpful. But yeah, keep in mind that the filtration you're seeing in the urine is coming from the lymphatic vessels, not the blood, because that stuff would not be in the blood. The blood can't handle that. The blood is our kitchen, so it has to be very pristine and clean. And the kidneys help to keep the blood at that pristine level. But the kidneys also remove the lymphatic waste material. So hopefully, Karen, that answers that question. Humso writes, do you use Instagram or TikTok? My Facebook business page is connected to Instagram, although I'm gonna talk to somebody about that because I don't know if it's correctly. I'm not very tax savvy. I don't use TikTok because I'll be honest with you, I hate being behind a computer. I don't really want to be looking at a phone, a cell phone, or a computer, so I kind of have not embraced that many things. But maybe I'll look at TikTok just momentarily just to, you know, advertise these weekly Q&As. Karen writes, all of those urine photos full of sediment are confusing when people can't get there. Yeah, it is confusing because many people probably are coming from the fact that the kidneys only filter the blood, and that's what they've been taught. I mean, Dr. Morse is the only person I know of that's bringing forth that theory. Humso writes, let's see, sorry, it moved on me. Someone says your pee should look like a snow globe. I see sediment, but nothing like major flakes. What are your thoughts on good kidney filtration? Well, I think that anything that you can get out from the lymphatic system is removing waste and things that were stuck in our tissue spaces. So whatever was there, whatever it looks like, right, that's what's coming out. Some people have black specks. Some people have brown specks. It might not be white. It might have a color to it. Sometimes if it's more chronic, that it's been in your tissue spaces for a longer time, it's going to be darker. And we see that in the iris, right? So this is where it ties in with Dr. Morse's lymphatic iridology. Because you can see on the iris, you know, these little colors of things that are stuck, and you know, the iris is a map of the human body, so wherever it's stuck, that's where you have that congestion. And believe it or not, when you do this type of detoxification protocol, and you've been doing it long term, your irises change color. So those little darker spots become lighter. You know, people that have brown eyes form blue eyes with time, right? So there's only two true colors of our irises, blue and brown. Everything else are just different levels of lymphatic stagnation. Yeah, if people are on a detox diet, they're going to be removing stuff that's deep within them. You know, some people that aren't filtering at all and they're eating a crappy diet, that's dangerous because that stuff's just hanging out in their tissue spaces. Vonda writes, the body at first, when congested, will retain water and then get loose. That's a perfect thing to say, Vonda. I've seen that quite a bit. All of those acidic waste products and other congestive materials that are trapped in our tissue spaces, they attract water. And so it's not uncommon to get very bloated when you first go on like an all-fruit diet. You might retain some water until you get to the point where it starts to astringently pull that out into the lymphatic vessels, and then you can start releasing it. And that's where you start seeing this movement. But it does, for some people, it does take time. And you just have to keep going. You have to keep moving forward with that protocol that you're on. So my time is coming to an end here. One more question, Karen. I'm having difficulty, I guess two more. We can get two more questions in. I'm having difficulty clearing the head, 100% fruit with some veggies occasionally. Why is the head so difficult? For many people, there's a lot of tightness in the head or in the neck and the shoulders. I work with a masseuse. Well, he's a very spiritual guy, and he's very, he does a lot of different types of modalities to clean up the neck and the shoulders for me, because I have a lot of tightness here, and I have the same issue. My head gets very congested quite easily. And so I think it's because there's so much tightness. I mean, because of how we sit, because of how we hold ourselves. You know, this is the fifth chakra. A lot of people have a hard time, you know, expressing themselves, and they hold so much in. So again, coming back to the different levels of who we are as human beings, it's not just physical. There could be tight muscles, but why are the muscles tight? Because energetically we're holding here. We're not speaking our truth. You know, so look at those other levels. You know, ask yourself, am I articulating who I am or what I stand for? Or, you know, am I doing the work that I should be doing? Are you stuck in a job where you're doing something mundane, and you are put here on this planet for a reason? Um, you're going to be experiencing hardships until you break through that and come out the other side and say, hey, I'm not meant to be doing this nonsense. I need to be talking about this. I mean, I'm going through the same thing right now. I'm in this place right now where I'm teaching, the allopathic nonsense at my 9 to 5 job. And I'm trying to break through to the other side where I can just speak like I am right now with you all and teach an A&P course where I can get the truth out. And working with Dr. Morse is allowing me to do that. But I want to do that, 100% of the time, not just some of the time. So hopefully, those are some things to think about. Yeah, because I think it's all here. I think it's when the head's backed up, it's because it can't drain to the kidney, right? Hot cold packs help. You can do that in the shower, let the cold and the hot go right there at the back of your head, and that helps to constrict and dilate those lymphatic vessels to help draw the lymph out more easily. Yeah, so try things like that. You can try neurolymphatic points as well. Those help. Some of the comments are disappearing on Facebook. I don't know why that's happening. Humso writes, my eyes are a darker blue-gray. Will they get lighter? They could get lighter, yeah. Blue-gray just means they should be blue. They shouldn't have any gray in them. So the gray is probably more of like a whitish acidic buildup over the blue fibers. And that's why they look gray, right? Let's see. Neti pots are fine. Yeah, that helps to draw out some of the congestion in the nose. Yeah, so there are things you can do to get that lymph out of the head, and that's where when I detox, that's where I have my healing crisis. It's in the head because that's where I'm backed up. And I know for me, fifth chakra issues, thyroid gland, parathyroid glands, even the arms. And it's our communication, our voice box, because our arms are connected right here via the shoulders to the neck. So this is where we communicate. So we communicate vocally, sign language is communication. This is all fifth chakra problems. And so sometimes the core issue is not just at the physical level. It might be at the chakra or spiritual level. So look at that. I think, again, these disorders, these dis-eases that we experience, they're here to teach us a lesson so that we can heal something. And we need to ask ourselves, what is it that I need to change? What do I need to do differently? And ask, for help. Because there are, whatever you want to call it, I think there are, there's help out there, spiritually speaking. There is help. Yeah, so when you have lymphatic congestion in your head, you can see, hair loss, receding gum lines, loose teeth. There's a lot that, having too much congestion here can result in. I don't know if my producer is still with me. I've gone over the One Great Network. I'm only on the One Great Network until for an hour, so I might have gone off there. But I do need to draw this to a close. Because my puppies need one more meal and they get a little agitated when I'm delayed at feeding them. But thank you all. I will be back next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for the ideas with sharing this so that more people get the message. So I will share on YouTube. I'll try to do both YouTube and Facebook simultaneously, but at least I can put a message on YouTube. The last time I did YouTube live streaming, I will say I did attract some pretty weird people. And so maybe I should get a moderator for YouTube because I know a lot of the channels have moderators. But thank you, Karen, Humso, Vonda, all of you that showed up today. I know I'm missing one more person, but thank you all. I do appreciate you being here, and I look forward to more people showing up next week. I'll try to send the reminders out again so that we do reach more people. And I'm always on the One Great Work Network too. So have a beautiful week, and I will see you all next week. Bye.